When the child is separated from one parent, in this case the left behind parent, the Child Abduction Convention does provide for mechanisms to help the child preserve his or her right to identity and family relations. Firstly, the Child Abduction Convention secures rights of contact. In the Convention's language, of course, we call it rights of access, but today we say rights of contact. And in an international child abduction situation, rights of contact are really important. It's very essential to consider that, of course, this will depend on the left behind's parent's requests. So this crucially depends on the contact being in the interest of the child. And more generally, the duty to return the child promptly is a provision that may also result in the re-establishment of the child's right to identity and family relations, especially if it's in the child's interest. It's quite important, I think, to note that the Convention works under the assumptions that the judiciary, the courts, and the competent authorities in the child's country of habitual residence are the ones best placed to decide on custody matters affecting the child. That means that the perspective of the Convention is that the courts in the country of the child's habitual residence are better suited to issue long-term decisions that will affect the child. It isn't so difficult to see the connection between this assumption and the fact that the child, having come from this society in this place of habitual residence, would allow the protection of the child's right to identity and family relations. Of course, there are very important exceptions to this assumption, but these exceptions are very narrow and can only be analyzed on a case-by-case basis, always taking the child's interests as a paramount consideration. When the decision has been taken that a child should not be returned, and so a child should stay in a place where he or she was brought to or retained in, the Convention does protect rights of access, which means that the Convention protects the child's right to have regular contact with his or her parents, even if in that situation where the child would not be returned. In this case, the central authorities shall process a request for rights of access and shall cooperate in order to take steps to remove, as far as possible, all obstacles to the exercise of such rights. The applications for access are not dependent on a return application under the Convention, but they can be presented in the same way as return applications. So regardless of the return of the Child Abduction Convention secures the child's continuing family relations through access and contact with both parents, and which this, of course, undoubtedly helps to preserve the child's right to his or her identity and the child's right to family relations.